Hey, yo, what's going on, guys? We have a brand new episode of Buy or Bust today with the first new card of the brand new season, the What If season, and that is going to be Goliath. We're going to go ahead and jump into it. 3 decks for Goliath, break down some key counters and synergies from this card, the floor and the ceiling. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. In case you guys did not know, Goliath is the brand new Series 5 card releasing on Tuesday along with the Season Pass card, Captain Carter. This card does have the 2-cost, 1-power stat line and the ongoing ability, ongoing plus 1 power for each other ongoing card on the board. So it's across the board globally, just on your side. There's a lot of different cards you can combo well with. We're going to jump into 3 of the main ones I thought of originally. Let's go ahead and jump right into those. The key synergies I was thinking of are going to be Moonstone. It is going to be a 2-cost card. So with Moonstone, of course, Moonstone also gains this card's ability. You also do have Ravonna. It's a 2-1. I think you could use this card in a Mystique Iron Man kind of shell as well, potentially even some Tribunal Gaming, just because you're going to be throwing down a lot of ongoing cards on the board that can just work well with Ravonna. This allows you to play, Mystique and Goliath on turn 3 if you wanted to, because both those cards have 0 or 1 or less power, allowing you to work with Ravonna. And then, of course, I thought of Spectrum as well as another good enabler. This is an ongoing card, so, of course, this is going to get +2 power from Spectrum when Spectrum's on reveal goes off. Then, of course, we do have some key counter cards, which those are definitely going to be Red Guardian, which I feel like I say Red Guardian all the time. You guys have been commenting it on the videos too. Red Guardian is just still a prominent card, not as popular as he once was, but I think his value is going to increase, especially this week with Captain Carter and with Goliath. With a 1-powered stat line, this is really tough for your Goliath unless you have ongoing cards on the board to be able to mitigate this, but also this does remove power from Goliath as well. If Red Guardian hits another ongoing card, that is an ongoing card removed from the board that Goliath doesn't get its buff from. You also do have Rogue. This is an ongoing card. Rogue can steal this ability from Goliath, and of course we do have Enchantress. Enchantress removes ongoing abilities from your Goliath as well. I don't necessarily know how big Goliath is going to get consistently because it is +1, but there's some other top tech options there that could be impacting your Goliath as well. Potentially, you do have like a Shang-Chi. I think Lady Deathstrike is also possible to just mitigate your Goliath as well. It just really depends on what is a lot, or you're seeing a lot in the meta. I think Lady Deathstrike might be starting to grow more in popularity too, as you're seeing a lot of these discard enablers. Being able to just destroy some of those so you don't have to deal with a Dracula or with a Collector, a Bullseye especially. Like, you're going to see some of those. But let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad for this card as well. So the good for this card, we do have, it is an easy condition to meet. All you have to do is have ongoing cards on the board to be able to get extra power onto your Goliath. Not that bad, whereas like with speed, you of course have to spend your entirety of your energy to get any value with speed. And then, of course, you do also have a high power potential if you do fill the entire board with ongoing cards besides your Goliath. Of course, that is, 11 other cards on the board. So your Goliath would be a 2-12, which I think a 2-cost card at 12 power is pretty good, I would say. So you do have that. And then it's a global ability at the 2-cost slot because it goes through any ongoing card across the entire board. It gives this card power, so that's really cool just to keep in mind. So they're just like easy conditions to meet too, because Sam Wilson also is 2 ongoing cards on the board, so that's an immediate buff for your Goliath as well. But looking at the bad for this card, you do have to have ongoing cards in play in order for this to work, to be able to maximize your Goliath. So just keep that in mind. There's ongoing, that's the only cards that do buff this card. It is a single lane ability in the sense where this power only goes into a single lane. So it's only for Goliath. Even though this is a global ability, the power he gets, he does not affect any other areas of the board himself. He only affects his singular lane. And then Red Guardian, I think, is just going to become more popular again this week. We didn't see Red Guardian last week. We didn't see Red Guardian the week before. We're going to see Red Guardian again this week. I think he's going to be very, very popular again. Just keep that in mind with both this and the Season Pass card. And then going to the floor and the ceiling for this card. So I think, like, on average, you're going to probably be able to play 2 to 3 ongoings, depending on how you build your list. So I think at least getting him to, like, a 2-4, a 2-5-ish, or a 2-3 is still good. I think you're probably going to play more than that, of course. I think, like, you can get him to your high ceiling here and get him to a 2-6 or higher, I think that is just incredible on this card, and that's playing 5 or more ongoing cards, I think is totally doable. There are easy ongoing cards to play, whether that is an Ant-Man, a Ravonna, a Cosmo, Mr. Fantastic. It doesn't count Goliath himself. You also have like a Mystique. Like, you can even use the arrows from Kate Bishop, whether it is the Pym arrow. Like, there's a bunch of different ways you can just meet this criteria, which I don't think will make this card too complicated to get higher up. But of course, you do have to build around this. And I think on the low end, like, you don't have any ongoing cards at all. This card's just kind of there on the board. But you're building your deck around this card in a sense that you more often will not hit the floor for this card. You're going to have value, I feel like, every which way with this card, which is why I think it's really easy to kind of just meet this criteria to get this card to get buffs. So I think that's really solid with the Goliath here. But moving on to the decks that we did build for this card, we do have a huge mid-range list, which this I am thinking more of an Agent Venom style list where it's a mid-ball kind of thing going on. Of course, you know, Agent Venom hitting your Moonstone may not be your favorite thing to do because then Moonstone gets her power set to 3. But at that point, you're not really aiming for her power. You're mainly using her for her ability. You have a bunch of different ongoing cards in this list too. It's not a only ongoing list because you want to get some extra Agent Venom value as well. And then when you do have on reveals with Bast and Juggernaut, you do have Adam Warlock to help you draw cards. You, of course, do have all sorts of other, you have your Iron Man getting extra power potentially with some Moonstone stuff or your Mystique stuff. Like, there's different ways to kind of mitigate power here, and you're running a lot of lower powered cards to get that extra 3 power. Honestly, is a huge dub for these cards, so that's where my head went here. The next list we do have is some Patriot shenanigans. So, like, also with Patriot, you're not seeing too many ongoing cards. You have Dazzler, Ravonna, Mystique, Ant-Man, Patriot, Moonstone, Blue Marvel. That's 7 cards. Your Iron Lad could potentially hit another card. That would be 8. But I think you're going to get like 5 to 6 ongoing cards here, which is still really solid. That's a 2-6 or a 2-7 potentially for your Goliath, which I think is really good for a 2 cost. And you also have Dazzler in one lane. You have Goliath in another. You know, Dazzler can go to a 2-8, and we like Dazzler being at a 2-8. And I think Goliath getting close to that is also really solid. So you have a bunch of different ways here. You could probably play 2099, Doom 2099 in here. I don't want to play Doom 2099. I don't like that card. But it does pump out, you know, ongoing Doom bots. And with that in mind, those are ongoing cards that would also buff your Goliath, which allows you to kind of trickle that. And I think that's definitely where a lot of people are going to be playing him. But I also thought Thanos Zoo would actually be really interesting for this card. You have a bunch of different outs here. You do have Ant-Man, you have Dazzler, you do have Kyra, Kazar, Moonstone, Blue Marvel, Claw. You have Spectrum and Mockingbird. You're playing all the stones out, so those are token cards for your Mockingbird value there. And then, like, your stones, you have your Power Stone, your Soul Stone, you also have your, and then, like, Mind Stone, Reality Stone, and Time Stone are all on reveal, so they don't have ongoing abilities. And then, but you also have Space Stone, so that's 3 different ongoing cards right there also for your Goliath, just slotted into your deck with Thanos, which is really cool. And then you have your other ongoing cards to be able to get value there. Board space could be an interesting situation here, but you also have, you know, Marvel Boy, and you have Kazar to potentially mitigate some of that power across the board, Claw to be able to add power to other lanes. I feel like this would be just a really interesting home for Goliath, and I think we could probably mess around with this and find a different kind of like Thanos ongoing list, which would be really cool. But moving on to the Spotlight Weeks, we do have very interesting Spotlight Weeks here. So we do have Gwenpool and Cersei in Spotlights. Cersei's first time returning to Spotlights, and Gwenpool's first time in Spotlights since she was released in July of last year. So it's been a while since people have gotten Gwenpool, so it's very interesting to kind of think of that here. And when we do look at these cards itself, I don't necessarily think Goliath is the most strong card or Cersei is the most strong card here, but Gwenpool is very strong. Especially with the Agamotto interaction. Now, too, if you do have spells in your hand, Gwenpool only hits, you know, characters, does not hit any spells, so she can only hit the cards that can get buffed that have power, which is really good, and you're seeing Gwenpool in a different variety of lists. She's not just single-dimensional. Cersei, you're seeing played a little bit more, and you probably will see her play rate go up when more people have her. But you're not really seeing her in Annihilus as much as you were. I mean, you do have, you know, You have Lady Deathstrike in play. You still have, Annihilus himself. You have the targeted Viper. Like, you have different ways to kind of just mitigate some of this. You also have images of Icon, which also could just change cards. Instead of having the Void there, you change it into something else. So it'll be interesting to see if Cersei does make her way back into the meta in some sort of fashion, but not entirely sure there. That's why it's kind of, I'm still in the middle here, but this, I think, is a pretty good week if you are missing Cersei and Gwenpool, just to kind of just have these cards in your collection. Not sure if they'll do something to Cersei, but I think Gwenpool is really solid, and she's a Season Pass card, and a Season Pass card that hasn't been nerfed at all. So I think that's pretty good, and I think I like the variants. I like the Gwenpool variant. The Goliath variant is nice. The Cersei variant is really nice. I necessarily probably wouldn't open for the variants. I'm probably just trying to get Goliath and get out. Spend as little keys as possible is my general idea. But I think this is a pretty good week to open with it being Series 5 cards. So I think that's not too bad. But moving on to what I've seen the community talk about with Goliath, and then like what we've talked about with Goliath 2. I don't really see this card getting adjusted, and I think I'm kind of like on the same page with the community here, so we're going to blend this together this time. I think this card has some very good strengths, and I think it really does, have combo potential to be able to get pretty high in power. Nothing like crazy, but for a 2-drop to be able to get above 5 or 6 power is really good for a 2-drop. It's going to be flexible in the sense of like you have to play it with like ongoing stuff, or have to have at least, I think, like 3 or 4 ongoing cards to really get this card's value, or you play a fully ongoing list, which I think isn't too bad. I don't think it's like too power scary for it to be adjusted like anytime soon. It really just depends on how this card actually like performs, in the new season, and like going into like OTAs and patches and stuff. And I mean, Sam Wilson's still really popular. That right there is potentially just 2 power on Goliath and a snap of a finger. And I mean, what's really cool about Goliath too is because he's ongoing. Like, his power, you don't have to play him in the beginning of the game. You can play him at the end of the game, and I think you totally could play him more towards the end of the game and get some better Goliath value then, because your opponent has to still guess, do they have Goliath, do they not have Goliath, and you can kind of, like, add that extra just power on your board, kind of like a Gore kind of thing, like, you have to calculate everything going forward. So I think this card is going to be pretty interesting, pretty good. I think this is going to be a buy. Especially, I think, because it is a 2-drop that can scale the way it does. I don't think this card's going to be necessarily, like, overpowered and, like, you have to have this card kind of thing. But I do think this card's going to be good. I think you guys should buy this card if you do have the resources to get this card and you enjoy playing ongoing. But I do, like, I want to preface, like we say every single time, buy cards that you guys want to play. You don't have to buy every single card. I know you wanting to be collection complete is a thing. And I know, like, you just have limited resources. Maybe you have a lot of resources. But, like, at the end of the day, Marvel Snap's a video game. I want you guys to get the cards you think you're going to enjoy and you're going to have fun, that are going to bring you happiness. That's what's the most important over anything, is just having fun in this game. And resources are limited, so you got to make the most of your time and your resources in order to maximize. And, like, I've been wrong about cards, other people have been wrong about cards, so, like, take our opinions also with a grain of salt. And, like, really, what you want to play what you want to play. You don't have to get the card on day 1 either. You can totally wait until, like, later in the week to see how the meta shapes up. I believe we do have a patch on Tuesday, so you have to kind of think about that too going forward. Have that involved, maybe they'll change things up, who knows. But I think this card will be pretty solid if we're going to have my takes on it for sure. But I do want to say thank you guys so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for all the love and the support on the content as well. We'll have a new Yap out on Tuesday. If you guys were in the stream yesterday, we did have a live Yap. We'll be posting that on Tuesday if you guys did miss that. If you guys want to see more live Yaps, let us know, and maybe that's something we could start doing in the future. But I'll say, yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, definitely feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Until next time, it's been real. God bless, and Tucker out.